Curtis Gilbert is up with the audience here at the fair and has another question.
Yeah, Mike, I'm here with Jake. He's from Woodbury, which is now part of the 4th Congressional District, and he has a question about monetary policy.
It's a fun subject here. The Federal Reserve artificially lowers interest rates, which adversely affects senior citizens who rely on investment income from things like CDs and bonds. However, the Federal Reserve is not accountable, they're not transparent on these decisions, these monetary decisions at the FOMC. So my question is really to Betty McCollum, why did you vote against the heavily bipartisan bill of auditing the Federal Reserve? And then I would also like to hear the other candidates opine on that.
Well, the Federal Reserve does have its books open, and the GAO regularly audits and looks at them. It does. It's a fact. You can shake your head no, but it's a fact, sir. What that bill went on to do is it went on to say that the GAO then had to make, or some audit group, had to make recommendations and then bring it to Congress to act on it. Folks, if you don't think you want any more government in your life, you don't want government regulating the central banks.
Hernandez.
Well, I've told this story many a times, but one of the reasons why I'm here right now challenging the incumbent for her seat is because of this idea of too big to fail. And if you remember during 2008, during the time of the financial collapse, when all the doom and gloomers on TV were saying that the world was ending and financial Armageddon was here, and our Treasury Secretary at the time, Carlson, had 3 pages of paper about how he was going to spend nearly $1 trillion of your money, our money, to bail out the fat cat Wall Street banks. And I wrote a letter via email to Congresswoman McCollum's office, and I pleaded with her to not vote for the bank bailouts, that I didn't believe in too big to fail, that we have bankruptcy laws in place, and she decided to go ahead for whatever reasons to vote to bail out the Wall Street banks. And my argument is the economic stagnation that we have right now today, the high unemployment rate, people upside down on their mortgages, the national debt, these are all a result of too big to fail and bailing out the Wall Street banks. I wouldn't have voted to bail out the Wall Street banks. I would have let them fail. We'd be much better off right now.
Well, we'd be in a depression.
The Federal Reserve is one of the independent agencies which have to be cut back, and including departments. This is the only way that we're going to reduce the size of the federal government. As long as those departments and agencies are there, including the Federal Reserve, they're going to exercise power over the entire country in areas where the states could exercise a lot more power. And whoever is elected, Republican or Democrat, they're going to find a way to spend $3 or $4 trillion a year. We don't want that. We want to reduce that. We want to send the power and the resources back to the state of Minnesota, because Minnesota can do it better. Now the Federal Reserve looks at, we have a Federal Reserve Bank here. I'm sure they play an important function, but we need to look at the community banks and the regional banks, and those are not being helped by the Federal Reserve or by the bailout. And
Now, it's interesting that we can look at it now and say, oh, we didn't need to do it. Well, folks, let's remember back to 2008. The stock market was dropping. People's retirement security was being wiped out in front of them. And the first time Congress failed to act on the bill, the market even dropped farther. And we did need to take action, and we took bipartisan action. Why? Because it was a crisis. Our economy was facing a crisis. And I'm happy that I voted with my Republican colleagues, including Paul Ryan and including John Boehner and many other Republicans and many Democrats, because we put partisanship aside and we put America first. Now, the other thing about the chart is we're being paid back with interest. So not only did we stabilize our economy, and we have a lot more work to do with jobs, we have a lot more work to do getting America back on track. I recognize that, and that's why I want to go back to Washington. But we cannot forget what it was like in 2008. The failure to take no action at all would have led this country into depression, and economists, both conservative and fiscal, both said we needed to do that.
Tony Hernandez.
we should not have bailed out the banks. The reason why unemployment is so high right now is because we bailed out the banks. The reason why the debt shot up $6 trillion since then is because we bailed out the banks. And they're not paying us back. Just to point this out, GM, we purchased GM stock at $32. That stock is worth $20 now. We lost $16.9 billion as a result of our investment that we didn't even choose to do so. $187 billion was given to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They've paid back $0. The only people that have paid back TARP are the large banking institutions that used our money to purchase other assets out there to make themselves grow bigger. We actually made the problem of too big to fail even bigger, and the day of reckoning will come unless we get our fiscal house in order.
And Steve Carlson from AIT.
I like bipartisanship, nonpartisanship, but I can't be happy with what Paul Ryan and Betty McCollum voted on. This is an ongoing crisis. We can't just say who's to blame. We've got to solve this crisis, and as I've said, the only way we can do that is to reduce the federal government spending by getting rid of those unneeded agencies and departments, and I recognize that Mitt Romney has said that that's what he's going to do, and I think that's what we need to do. We can't recover it from entitlements, as Ryan has said. We've got to go after discretionary spending and give the power in the state back to the states and the resources.
All right.